Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
If you had asked me a year ago what my life looked like, I would have given you the same polished answer I gave everyone. Suburban comfort, 2 kids who adored their mother, a wife who juggled TA meetings and spin classes, and me, the steady hand holding it all together. From the outside, it was picture perfect. Hell, sometimes even I believed it. But perfect lives don't creak in the night. They don't smell faintly of cologne you don't own. They don't involve whispered phone calls behind locked doors. Perfect lives don't fracture over details small enough to ignore, except mine did. The first time I noticed, it was a Tuesday evening. My son, Ethan, was 6, and he was telling me about his day at school while I reheated leftover lasagna. My wife, Claire, was upstairs grading essays on her laptop. Ethan stopped mid-sentence and said, "Daddy, who's Mark?" I laughed, confused. "Who? Mark," he repeated, his mouth full of pasta. Mommy was talking to him on the phone. She said he's funny. She laughed a lot. The name landed like a pebble in water, rippling through my chest. I brushed it off, asked Ethan about math homework, and pretended the pebble sank. But it didn't. That night, as Claire slipped into bed, smelling faintly of wine I hadn't seen her pour, I asked casually, "How was work?" She kissed my cheek, too quick. "Busy. You know how it is." But I didn't know. Not really. The next day, my daughter Lily, 9 years old and observant to a fault, left her sketchbook on the counter. Flipping through, I found a drawing of a man with dark hair and a crooked smile. Above it, in messy bubble letters, "Mommy and Mark at the park." My blood turned to static. I asked Lily about it later, as gently as I could. She shrugged. "We saw him when we went for ice cream. He bought me sprinkles." Sprinkles. A stranger buying my daughter sprinkles while my wife smiled beside him. I didn't confront Claire. Not then. Because denial is easier than destruction. Weeks passed, each one sharper than the last. Claire started going to yoga 3 nights a week, always showering the moment she came home. Her gym bag smelled like cologne instead of sweat. She wore new lingerie I hadn't bought. She hummed songs I hadn't heard before. I began writing it down. Dates, times, details. I called it the journal. November 3rd. Claire leaves for yoga at 6:10. Comes home 9:47. Hair still damp. Smell, cologne, smoky. Kids already in bed. November 8th. Lily says, "Mommy's friend Mark let me play with his watch." Draws a picture again. This time, Claire holding hands with him. November 14th. Claire cancels dinner with my parents. Says she's working late. Ethan whispers, "Mommy was laughing in the car with a man. I saw them kiss at the stoplight." Each entry was another nail in the coffin of my sanity. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal, it was the performance. She still kissed me goodbye in the mornings. Still sat beside me at the kids' soccer games, clapping and cheering like the devoted mother everyone thought she was. My parents adored her. The neighbors envied us. And through it all, she played the role so perfectly that even I questioned my own eyes. But the kids didn't lie. Children don't invent names, sprinkles, or crook smiles. One night, my father stopped by unexpectedly. He caught Claire slipping into the driveway at nearly 11 p.m. He asked me later, in his gravelly voice, "Why is your wife coming home at hours that don't belong to her?" I lied. "She's working late." He didn't believe me. Fathers never do. The fracture widened. Claire became colder, sharper. She nitpicked my habits, rolled her eyes at my jokes, dismissed me with sighs. She said I was too comfortable, too predictable. She accused me of being checked out. But I wasn't checked out. I was tuned in. Watching, recording, waiting for the moment her mask slipped. It came, finally, on a Saturday afternoon. We were at my parents' house for dinner. My mother, who notices everything, set a bottle of red wine on the table. Claire flinched. "That's his favorite," she muttered under her breath. "Whose?" I asked, though I already knew. Her eyes widened. "No one. I meant yours." But she had never once remembered my favorite wine. Later that evening, Lily pulled out her sketchbook again. This time, she showed my mother the drawing before I could stop her. "Look, Grandma, This is Marmee and Mark. He's really nice." The room went silent. Claire's fork clattered against her plate. My mother looked from the drawing to Claire, her lips pressed into a thin line. Claire excused herself to the bathroom. When she came back, her smile was too wide, her laughter forced. My parents exchanged glances. The air in the room had shifted. That night, after the kids were asleep, I asked her point blank, "Who is Mark?" She froze, then laughed. "You're being paranoid. Lily drew him. Ethan mentioned him. My father saw you sneaking in at 11 p.m. Who is he?" For the first time, she didn't have an answer ready. Her silence was louder than any confession. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think." But it was, and worse, because the way she said it, it wasn't defensive. It was weary, like she was tired of holding up the facade, like Mark wasn't just a fling, but something heavier. That was when I realized my marriage wasn't just breaking, it was unraveling into something I couldn't yet see, and the kids, they were the thread pulling it loose. After that night at my parents' house, there was no going back. The name Mark had crossed to many lips, slipped through to many cracks. For me to pretend anymore, it tried denial, it tried patience. Neither worked, so I leaned into obsession. The journal grew thicker by the day. I filled pages with timestamps, receipts, overheard fragments of conversation. Claire thought I was losing interest in her, that I was retreating into myself. She wasn't wrong, but what she didn't know was that I was building a case, piece by piece, like a prosecutor preparing for trial. November 21st. Claire cancels Lily's dentist appointment last minute. Claims work emergency. Later found receipt from a bistro across town. 2 entrees, 1 dessert. November 26th. Ethan says, "Mommy's friend Mark told me I should play soccer, not baseball. How does this man know my son's sports?" December 1st. Claire leaves for spin class in black dress, heels. Returns 12:47 a.m. Hair down, lipstick smudged. But the strangest detail wasn't in her lies. It was in the way the kids began to normalize him. One afternoon, Lily was playing with her dolls, and I overheard her scolding one of them. "No, you can't sit there. That's Mark's seat." Her innocence was brutal. She didn't know she was painting daggers with crayons and plastic toys. My parents noticed the change in me. My mother called one evening, voice gentle but edged. "You've lost weight. You look like a ghost. Tell me the truth." I almost did. But what was I supposed to say? "Your daughter-in-law is bringing another man into our children's lives, and I don't know how to stop it without tearing them apart too." So I said what cowards say. "I'm fine, Mom. Just stressed from work." But fathers don't stop asking. My dad cornered me after church, his hand heavy on my shoulder. "Daniel, men like us don't ignore shadows. You already know. So why are you waiting for her to confess?" I didn't answer, because deep down, I was waiting for the kids to confess for her. And they did. It was a Tuesday evening when Ethan burst into the kitchen, waving a toy car. "Daddy, Daddy, Mark bought me this. He said it's just between us." Claire froze mid-step, grocery bag still in her hand. Her face drained of color. She crouched quickly, forcing a smile. "Ethan, sweetie, don't make up stories." But Ethan wasn't making up anything. He held up the car proudly. He gave it to me at the coffee shop. "You were there, Mommy." Her eyes flicked to mine, wide, terrified not because she was caught, but because her own child had betrayed the script. That night, I wrote in the journal, December 10th, "Mark is not a secret anymore. He is a character in my children's storybook, written in their own words." Claire no longer controls the narrative. After that, the tension thickened until it strangled the air in our house. Claire became sharper, almost cruel. She snapped at the kids for leaving toys out, scolded Lily for doodling at the dinner table. She accused me of spying when I asked about her schedule. But the mask cracked again, this time at Christmas. We had invited my parents over for dinner, the kids buzzing with excitement over presents. Claire disappeared upstairs while I set the table with my mother. When she returned, her phone was still in her hand. She looked distracted, flushed. Lily tugged on her sleeve. "Mommy, are you texting Mark? Can he come to Christmas too?" The room went silent. My father's jaw clenched. My mother dropped the serving spoon. Claire's smile froze, brittle as glass. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, voice trembling. But the damage was done. After my parents left that night, my mother hugged me tight at the door. She whispered, "You don't have to carry this alone. Protect the children." Her words echoed for hours. Protect the children. That was the line in the sand. I stopped journaling for myself. I started journaling for them. I collected everything, every lie, every receipt, every accidental confession from the mouths of my kids. If one day this went to court, if custody became a battlefield, I'd have the arsenal ready. But what unsettled me most wasn't just the cheating. It was the pattern. Claire wasn't acting like a woman chasing passion. She was acting like a woman trapped in someone else's orbit. Controlled. Owned. I remembered her whisper in the kitchen once, when she thought I was upstairs. "Stop calling me here. The kids will notice." She wasn't giddy. She was cornered. That was when I realized this story wasn't just about infidelity. It was about influence. About someone weaving himself into my family's fabric so tightly the kids didn't even see the wrongness of it. Mark wasn't just her lover. He was becoming their ghost father. And I couldn't let that happen. So I made a decision. I would stop waiting for her lies. Stop hoping for a confession. I would find the truth myself, rip it out of the shadows, and put it on paper so undeniable that even Claire couldn't deny it. Because if she wouldn't protect the kids from him, I would. Even if it meant burning the whole house down. By January, I had become to men. By day, the father who packed lunches, tied shoes, and pretended nothing was wrong. By night, the investigator cross-referencing receipts, mapping timelines, checking bank statements he'd quietly rerouted to my email. Claire thought she was clever, but she wasn't clever enough to erase digital trails. January 12th, $142 charge at Bellamore Hotel, downtown. Listed for dinner and room service. Claire claims she'd been at a late staff meeting. January 14th. Withdrawal from ATM near the same hotel. $200 cash. She told me she was buying groceries. Every lie folded neatly into the journal. Every page, another brick in the wall, was building around the truth. The kids noticed my silence. Lily stopped showing me her drawings. Ethan clung to Claire more often, not because he trusted her, but because he sensed I was slipping away. Children don't always understand words, but they feel distance, like cold air under a door. My parents noticed too. My mother invited me over for coffee, sliding a hand across mine. "Daniel, this is killing you. You can't keep documenting forever. At some point, you have to decide." But decide what? To leave? To stay? To confront? I didn't know yet. The final crack came not from me, but from Lily. She came home from school one day, backpack bouncing, excitement in her eyes. "Daddy, guess what? Mark picked us up today." I froze. "What do you mean, picked you up?" "Mommy said she was busy, so he took us for ice cream. He has a red car. He let Ethan sit in the front." Claire walked into the kitchen mid-sentence. Her face drained of color. "Lily, that's enough." But the damage was already done. My daughter, innocent as she was, had just confirmed what I feared most. Mark wasn't just in Claire's life. He was in my children's lives. That night, I confronted Claire outright. No disguises, no questions wrapped in politeness. Just, "You let him drive our kids." She flinched, then snapped. "Hay's safe. Hay's good with them. You wouldn't understand." Safe. Safe. A stranger, no, not a stranger. A man who had dismantled my marriage brick by brick was now chauffeuring my children, and she called it safe. My father's voice echoed in my head, "Protect the children." So I followed. 2 nights later, Claire left for book club. I parked a block from Bellamore Hotel, waiting. At 9:14, she arrived, hair curled, dressed to elegant for friends and novels. At 9:27, Mark appeared, tall, dark hair, crooked smile, the same one Lily had drawn. He kissed her openly before they went inside. I stayed in the car, gripping the steering wheel until my hands ached. My phone trembled in my palm. I took photos, timestamp after timestamp. But it wasn't the kiss that gutted me. It was what happened when they came out hours later. Claire laughed, light spilling from her in a way I hadn't seen in years. And then God helped me. Mark opened his trunk and pulled out a wrapped toy car. The same kind Ethan had shown me weeks before. He wasn't just her affair. He was auditioning for fatherhood. The next day, I went to my parents' house, sat at their kitchen table, slid the photos across. My mother covered her mouth. My father stared, jaw clenched, silence heavy. Finally, he said, "You can't let this stand. If she won't protect the children, you must." The words felt like a sentence. I returned home that night to find Claire cheerful, humming in the kitchen, as if the world wasn't collapsing around her. The kids were upstairs, laughing at some cartoon. The house smelled of garlic and butter, cozy, warm, but all I felt was rot beneath the wallpaper. I wanted to scream, to throw the photos in her face, to demand an explanation that didn't exist. Instead, I sat down and ate dinner with her, nodding at her meaningless chatter, because I had decided something. I wouldn't expose her in anger. It exposed her in precision. She thought she was weaving Mark into our family quietly, invisibly. She thought I was blind, but I was watching, recording, and soon everyone would see, even if it meant setting fire to the home we'd built. Because sometimes protection doesn't look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like destruction, and I was ready to burn. By February, the walls of our home no longer echoed with laughter. Every sound was strained, every silence heavier than lead. The kids tiptoed around us, sensing the tension even when we tried to hide it. I was tired of hiding. The journal was no longer just a secret notebook. It had become a weapon, each page a blade, each timestamp a bullet. And I was done waiting. The breaking point came on a Saturday afternoon. My parents came by with cookies for the kids, their presence like a fragile bandage on a festering wound. We all sat in the living room, the TV playing some mindless cartoon. Claire tried to act normal, but her smile was stretched thin, her hands fidgeting in her lap. Then Lily spoke. "Mommy, is Mark coming today?" she asked, voice innocent, eyes bright. The room froze. My father's jaw tightened. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Ethan, oblivious, chimed in. He promised to take me to the park next time. He said he's faster than Daddy. Faster than Daddy. That was it. The phrase lodged in my chest like shrapnel. I stood, walked to the cabinet where the journal waited. My hands didn't shake as I pulled it out. Thick and heavy, its pages bursting with evidence. I set it on the coffee table with a thud that silenced even the cartoon. "Claire," I said, my voice flat, "tell them who Mark is." Her face drained of color. "Daniel, don't do this. Tell them. Or I will." She stammered, glancing between the kids, my parents, and me. Finally, her voice broke. "He's just a friend." My father leaned forward, his voice a growl. "Friends don't buy toy cars for other men's children. Friends don't kiss you outside hotels. Don't insult us." Claire's eyes widened. She looked at me, betrayed not because I was wrong, but because I had proof. I opened the journal. Page after page, I slid photos, receipts, transcripts across the table. Every lie laid bare. "This is who Mark is," I said. "Not a friend. Not a mentor. Not safe." Lily whimpered. Ethan buried his face in my mother's lap. Claire reached out, tears streaming, but I pulled back. "You let him into our children's lives," I spat. "You let him play father while I was standing right here." She sobbed, voice cracking. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. He said he could give them more. Give me more." I didn't mean, but it was too late. Words don't erase scars. My father stood, his voice thunder. "Enough. You've endangered your children for your selfishness. This ends now." The kids cried. My mother held them close. Claire collapsed to her knees, begging, swearing it was over, swearing she'd cut him out. But I had heard enough promises to last a lifetime. That night, I packed bags for the kids, took them to my parents' house, where they would sleep soundly, away from the poison that had seeped into our walls. Claire followed me to the car, pleading, grabbing my arm. "Daniel, please, don't take them. I can fix this. I looked at her, and for the first time in months, I felt nothing. No anger, no grief, just clarity. You already broke it, I said, and I won't let you break them too. I shut the car door, drove away without looking back. In the days that followed, lawyers were called, papers filed, custody arrangements debated. Claire begged for forgiveness, but forgiveness isn't courtesy, it's bend after betrayal. I stayed quiet through it all, my weapon not rage but precision. The journal spoke louder than I ever could, and when the judge asked why I should have custody, I handed over the pages that told the story better than any speech. The truth wasn't clean, it wasn't pretty, but it was undeniable. In the end, Claire lost more than me. She lost the right to weave lies around our children. She lost the home we built. She lost the man who once would have forgiven anything, if only she had asked before she crossed the line. And I gained silence. Silence at dinner, where laughter would one day return without being poisoned. Silence at night, where no whispers in locked bathrooms would haunt me. Silence in my own mind, finally free from the weight of doubt. But most importantly, I gained something Claire never valued enough: trust from my children. They looked at me, not Mark, when they wanted safety. They clung to me, not her, when the world felt uncertain. Because I had done the one thing she never did. I protected them. I sit here now in my parents' old house, the kids asleep upstairs, the journal locked away in a drawer I never open anymore. It doesn't matter now. The pages were never about revenge. They were about clarity. Claire still calls sometimes to apologize, sometimes to rage, sometimes just to remind me she exists. But her voice doesn't move me anymore. It's just noise in the background of a life she chose to burn. And me. I chose silence, because silence is where healing begins. Thank you for listening to this story. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe to End Stories. New stories drop every single day. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's already waiting for you.